Have you ever thought about it? There is a kind of debt that even if you cultivate yourself into a saint, well, you still have to use your own physical body to pay it off. Today, we're going to tell a story like that, a story about a king, a sage, and a debt that spans countless dimensions of time and space. A karmic bill that simply cannot be dodged. Alright, let's not waste any time and jump straight into the most terrifying scene of the story. Try to imagine a living being whose body is eternally rotting. Countless tiny maggots are constantly gnawing their way out from inside the flesh. In agony, it runs toward the plains, only to be immediately torn and bitten by lions and tigers with mouths like iron. Desperate, it leaps into a river, only to find giant turtles with iron beaks waiting there. It thinks, maybe I can fly into the sky, but in the air, there are hawks with iron beaks in pursuit. Truly, there is no road to heaven and no door into the earth. The pain is absolutely endless. Hearing this, you're probably thinking, wow, what kind of monstrous crime could possibly attract this kind of torture torment that feels like it's being cursed by the entire universe? This is the mystery we are going to unravel today, and let me tell you, the answer is far more shocking than you might imagine. The king's moment of folly. Everything traces back to this suffering being. He was once a monarch who possessed everything King Unpayable. Think about it, he was a ruler who had it all. Yet, because of a single fleeting thought, a flare-up of jealous rage, he personally opened the gates to the Avicii hell for himself. Before we reveal exactly what he did, there's a key word we need to understand. The victim in this story was an arhat. Simply put, an arhat is a saint who has severed all afflictions and transcended the cycle of birth and death. So, you can understand that in the Buddhist view, if you intentionally harm an arhat, the consequences are utterly beyond imagination. The trigger for this whole event was honestly so absurd it's frightening. The king took his concubines to a garden to play. The concubines happened to see 500 arhats practicing there, and out of their own virtuous roots, they asked them for teachings. When the king heard male voices from a distance, he didn't even bother to ask what was happening. His jealousy exploded instantly. He insisted they were seducing his concubines. For that one single thought, he ordered the execution of these 500 unarmed practitioners. A seed of evil intent was planted just like that. The inevitable chain reaction. Just like that, an act filled with jealousy and anger was like pressing a button on a karmic machine that cannot be paused or reversed. What followed wasn't someone coming to punish him. It was a series of inevitable chain reactions. The word kalpa is a unit of time in Buddhism. It is so long that our brains simply cannot process it. King Unpayabo's suffering in hell wasn't for one or two kalpas, it was for countless kalpas. Just that word alone gives you a sense of how massive the consequences of his actions were. Furthermore, he didn't fall into an ordinary hell. He fell into the deepest, most painful layer, the Avicii hell. What does Avicii mean? It means uninterrupted, where the pain has absolutely no gap or pause, not even for a single second. This is the direct result corresponding to the extreme evil of killing a sage. Now, this part points out the most troublesome and tricky aspect. Even when he finally finished his term of suffering and had a chance to be briefly reborn as a human, his past tyrannical habits, his momentum, remained. After being reborn as a hunter, he killed a solitary practicing sage over a trivial matter. The result, he was immediately dropped right back into the Avicii hell. This tells us one thing: karma isn't just a bill. What's even scarier is that it's a habit pattern, a momentum that follows you closely, the underlying code of the universe. After a vast expanse of time that we mortals cannot fathom, Unpayabo's soul finally had the chance to meet a Buddha. The Buddha revealed to him the universal law operating behind all of this. Now, let's look at what core principle this story is trying to explain. The comparison here is very crucial. Many people hear about karmic retribution and think of a God in the sky keeping a ledger of merits and faults, punishing you if you do something bad. But the karma described in Buddhist Dharma isn't like that at all. What is it like? It's more like a physical law of the universe. It is completely neutral. If you stick your hand into a fire, what happens? You'll definitely get burned. Right? It is a direct and inevitable result. This concept explains it perfectly. The Buddha's role is not the creator of the law of karma, nor is he its enforcer. He is more like a great scientist. He discovered the fundamental laws of how the universe operates and then handed the instruction manual to us. He tells us that the switch to our own destiny has always been held within our own actions, words, and thoughts. This point is actually quite staggering. It means karma is the low-level code of the universe's operating logic. Even a Buddha, who has verily awakened to everything in the universe, cannot intervene to delay the course that has already been planted. He cannot hack into the system for you to delete the bad program you wrote. What he can do is give you the best programming manual to teach you how to walk out of the labyrinth you built with your own hands. The final settlement, even saints must pay. The story finally reaches its climax. You might think that after meeting the Buddha, everything would reach a happily ever after. But the development that follows is guaranteed to subvert your imagination. This is the core of the story and the part that most challenges our common perception. By this time, Genpo had already practiced and attained the fruit of the path, becoming an arhat. He was already a liberated saint. However, even so, the monstrous crime he committed in the past still had to be repaid with his physical body as a final settlement. This clearly reveals the cruel but fair truth. This sentence is vital. Awakening can liberate you from affliction and the cycle of reincarnation, but it cannot let you skip out on your debts. The seeds you plant will eventually bear fruit that you must bear yourself. This forces us to look back and ask ourselves, if even a liberated saint cannot escape the consequences of his past actions, what about us, as ordinary people? The words we say every day, the things we do, and the thoughts that flash through our minds. What kind of bills are we signing for our own future? But don't worry just yet. The point of this story is absolutely not to make us feel despair. Quite the opposite. Here emphasizes that while the bill must be paid, we have the initiative, we can clear it, and we can stop opening new bad accounts. There are several powerful methods available to us, from generating a vast aspiration to work for all living beings, to realizing the highest wisdom regarding the nature of the world, to purify through specific methods of repentance, and making vows to practice in a better environment. All of this tells us that while karma is not false, we are absolutely not passive victims. We always hold the key to change in our hands. So, before we finish today, let's think together. The story of King Genpo is like a very clear mirror. It reflects the severity and justice of the law of karma. Every moment in our lives is actually a time of sowing seeds for the future and signing bills. So the question is, do we want our future to be a harvest of fragrant fruits, or a stack of bills that we simply cannot afford to pay? Would you like me to dive deeper into how one can clear the books through repentance? Or perhaps discuss how the momentum of habits can be shifted in daily life?